Hello everybody, welcome to another watercolor tutorial. Today's painting is inspired by Julie Paints, and it is the coolest birch tree perspective I've ever seen, in a painting at least. So we're going to be looking at this from a bird's eye view essentially. So pick a few points on your piece of paper where you have birch trees that are starting, right? Like look at it from a bird's eye view. So we'll have maybe one here, 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 and have those trees going like outwards. So we'll start here and kind of go, ooh, so this is a good perspective painting practice, I guess you could say. So one like this. I have another one that goes woo, like that. There's probably like a more accurate way to draw these in terms of perspective. And all I'm using is a pencil because I know I will undoubtedly get a question as to what this is. It's just a pencil. It's no special pencil, it's just, yeah. So yeah, once you have your little trees sketched out, we're gonna have like a footpath going through here, which will be pretty fun. I actually want one of my trees to start here. Okay. And I'm just going to erase, although we don't really have to erase these since we're going to be kind of painting around them. So the thing with birch trees, typically you paint like the surrounding area. Because birch trees are white. And we technically could do that, but I don't want to because that's more work. So instead, I'm going to show you how to paint birch trees so that they still look white, even though they're not. Although, now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking we should just paint the whole thing. Okay, we're going to paint the whole thing. So I am taking blue watercolor. So this is me just making decisions on the spot. I'm taking blue watercolor and I'm watering it down significantly. You can even add some gray in there because you just want a very, like almost a white replica. And I'm painting it, making sure to keep the outline of my trees. And you don't even have to be like super precise with it. You can see that some areas are darker than others, which is a-okay, I think. I used very, like mine is very gray. It's not that blue, which I'm not a fan of, but this is very unimportant in relation to the rest of the painting. So actually, since this is wet, since we're already at this step, I'm gonna take some darker blue and we're gonna paint shadows coming from these trees. So they're all gonna be going this way. So try to make them straight. That is way too dark. So let's see if we can pick some of that up. I am blaming this not working out on my paintbrush. Sorry, Grabby. Not a fan of your paintbrushes. Love your paints, but maybe I'm just used to different paintbrushes and yeah, not a fan. I just feel like I don't get very much control with them. So I know this doesn't really look like too much at the moment, but that's okay because we are going for a more abstract look to begin with. Oh my gosh, why is it red? Like seriously? I do this in every single painting where somehow I pick up another color along the way. I don't know where. The palette, maybe there's a bit of red on my water jar, like where I dip my paintbrush into. But I do it every single time and it just grinds my gears because it's just an unnecessary step where I have to fix something. So that looks all right the way that it is. The other thing, while that background is still wet, I'm gonna pick up that same color that I used for the shadow and I'm gonna just drop like little footprints walking through here. So and you can have it kind of curving, like it doesn't have to be totally mega straight, of course. Like so. So that works. Okay, and now we can get into the actual birch trees. So we are going to be primarily using black to paint our birch trees. I have quite a few birch tree tutorials on my channel, like many ways of painting birch trees. And this is just another one. So I'm gonna wait for this actually to dry before I add anything because I'm kind of scared that if I start outlining the birch trees that inevitably the black will seep into, you know, the background. Sorry, as I'm talking, I'm just going over those shadows again because they seem to have totally faded. Anyway, all right, let's let this dry and we'll come back to it. Okay, so this should be dry. And we're going to be working with black here. I'm going to grab my tiny little quadruple zero brush because that's what I like to use for this one's the double zero, but I know I'm just going to switch right away to it. because I know I will need it. So let's start with the first tree here. We don't want to outline the entire thing with black because that defeats the whole purpose, right? So I'm going to just outline, like, let's say this little part with black, and then like coming off of it, I'm going to have these little, I don't know what they are. They're like these black features on birch trees that branches grow out of. Or maybe the bark just looks like this. I have some birch trees on my property, so I get a good look at them. I don't know if it's like the older they are, the darker they are, but after like some of the birch trees on my property look really dingy, where the bark is not white anymore. It's very dark and gray, and they're kind of like falling apart almost. So once you got that down, you can dip, like rinse your paintbrush so there's just water on it, and you can kind of use that to spread out some of that black that you painted on. And this will help create this kind of birch illusion, like that. So I'll move on to my next tree here. So you do have to be patient with this process. And we're gonna go back once this first kind of layer has dried, and just add some more details on top. But for now, I'm happy with the way that it is. Bum, bum, ba, da, da, da. I can't believe that, like, this tutorial is going to be released in February, I believe, and I just can't believe that we're already in winter again. And when this one's released, it'll be like the dead of winter. Like, oh, I had such a hard time last winter, and in the summer, I was already getting like really uncomfortable thoughts about the coming winter. And when I thought about the snow, I'd get, it's just not a good thought. Luckily this winter, I'm not required to ride my bike in all weather conditions. However, it is a little sad that I'm kind of like stuck at home. But even if I had a car, where would I go? We live in the country. If I want to go to the city, I have to drive 50 minutes to like a city with a mall. And yeah, with a baby, I don't really want to make that trip. But this is the choice we made, right? We chose to live here. And most of the time, I don't mind being so far away from people and like the big city. But sometimes it's just a little bit lonely in the dead of winter. I don't know if that was even on the camera. I have a habit of doing that, of getting so into my painting that I slowly start to slide it off the camera view. So yeah, you can see how I'm painting this. Like I kind of focus typically a line only on one side, and then I just use the water to spread out the pigment. And it doesn't really take shape until you add the water, right? Like right now this kind of looks quite scattered and random, this particular one. But as soon as I add that water, and you could choose to have like two paintbrushes, one where you paint the very dark black features and the other one you use to smudge the water. I really like painting kind of abstract paintings like this, because even if you're not a very good painter, they're meant to be very abstract looking and very like the details aren't meant to be very accurate, or there aren't really details. Like it's much easier to make it look effortless. Okay, so now that we've got kind of the base down, and you can see there's quite a few differences from tree to tree. Like you can really have fun with the variation with them. I hope that even looks like what it's supposed to look like. I think I might make the shadows a tiny bit darker, because these ones are okay, but these ones have kind of lost their way. Let me just pick up some. That's a little bit better, I think. Okay, so now that I'm gonna start back at the first tree, because those have probably dried by now. We're just gonna add some, like you can totally stop there if you want, but I'm just tempted to add a few more details to make these look a little bit more realistic. So what I'm doing is adding those little kind of circle parts that branches seem to come out of, and just other random little black features. And you can add the little like not semicircles, that's not what I'm trying to say. Little lines that wrap around the tree. So you can add more things to your painting. Like, it doesn't just have to be the birch trees. You can add, I don't know, maybe birds from a bird's eye view. You can add an actual silhouette of a person walking, rather than just the footprints. Like, there's a few things you can experiment with. Okay, so I ended this video, but there's one thing I forgot to do that I noticed when I was painting another birch tree tutorial. And that is that I forgot to add those little thin twigs coming from the trees. And I was just gonna let it go and not paint them, but man, they really add, in normal paintings, those twigs really add a level of realism that I just think wouldn't be appropriate to leave out. So this is me just adding those twigs. You can totally forego them, but and because I'm rushing this, I'm not doing it to the standard that I would like to do it. But I just realized, like, I had already begun to clean up all my painting stuff, and then I forgot that this is something I was going to add. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it to all of the trees. But I do think that it adds something to the painting. So, and I'm trying to focus them coming out of like the knots of the tree. And maybe one more here. Okay, that's all I wanted to do. Thanks for watching, guys.